College is a wild ride for young adults, and their mental health often suffers. This podcast addresses the inner battles many college students struggle with. You're listening to Normalize It Forward, where we have raw, unfiltered conversations about young people's biggest mental health problems, how to handle them, and how to achieve a more resilient mind. Time to get rid of those heavy burdens and focus more on self-love and care. Here is your host, Mark Lehman.
Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to Normalize It Forward. I am here this evening to talk openly about mental health and wellness. My name is Mark Lehman, and I am joined tonight by Jordyn Sugar. Jordyn, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here. I'm going to run through a quick intro, Jordyn, then we'll get going. We'll jump right in. Today, as I mentioned, we have Jordyn Sugar, a Canadian singer, songwriter, and pop artist whose music centers on empowerment, authenticity, and self-expression. I did do my homework and I listened to a lot of your music. Really good stuff.
Thank you.
Really encourage my readers to get out there and look up Jordyn. Jordyn first connected with a wide audience through social media, using music as a way to speak honestly about confidence, growth, and finding your voice, especially during moments when life can be a bit uncertain. Her sound blends pop, R&B, and dance, which is influenced by the heart of her work, which is a clear message of being yourself is powerful.
Mhm.
Beyond music, Jordyn is passionate about using her platform to encourage self-belief and emotional openness, making her a natural fit for conversations that matter, like this one. I'm excited to talk with her about her creativity, confidence, and what it means to normalize the inner work we all do, especially as young people find their way. I'm so sorry, I fumbled that a bunch, but
You're
Jordyn,
good. You're good.
welcome. I gotta say, uh, I'm a huge fan of music, number one, and so love the work that you do and your passion. Want to hear really all about it. And one of the things that I came across that I thought was just so cool was this strong message of be yourself, right? And how important that is for young people. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think growing up, I was a bit different than the typical, I guess, kid. I was a tomboy growing up. I was playing sports and playing the drums, which is not typical for, a regular, I guess, girl, 15 years ago. So people would I was always seen as a little bit different, which is okay
Mhm.
for me because I knew that being different stood out and I didn't mind that. And now with my whole brand of empowered pop is to basically let people know that being different is okay and it's something to be said about standing out and being your own unique kind of identity and, not following the same trends and paths that everyone else normally takes. So just being completely yourself, even if it means, people not liking it.
I love that. I love that. What a great message. Empowered pop. I came across that phrase when
Mhm.
when I was reading about you, and it just got me thinking so deeply about the concept of young adults nowadays. I mean, young adults, in my opinion, this generation, the generation you're in, are often very they're just cool with being themselves, right?
Mhm.
And I think that I just love that. I love that compared to my generation where we never did that, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Um,
it's a bit different now.
no doubt, no doubt. So empowered pop, I'm assuming what you mean by that is in a lot of your song lyrics, you talk a lot about being yourself and
Mhm.
being authentic, right?
Yeah.
And tell me why that's so important.
Well, I think music speaks a lot of volume, and sometimes when you just speak words, it doesn't hit as hard as when you sing them. I think we've seen that especially over the course of the last, I guess in every generation, you have that song that stands out, that empowers, "We Are the World," and all these big
Absolutely. Yep.
anthems that are super, they speak so much about just unity and coming together and empowerment. So instead of just singing pop music, I like to my brand and everything is empowered pop. So empowering doesn't have to be the same message that I, talk about in every song, but as long as there's a message of empowerment in every song, no matter what it's about, if it's about, overcoming heartbreak or following your dreams or, just getting over an ex or something like that, always but on a positive term, like you got this, or, it's all good. I'll do it myself, or I'm good in my shoes. So all those different topics that play into anything empowering, I love to talk about it because a lot of music could be negative
Mhm.
nowadays. So I like to bring a positive side to it.
I was just thinking that a lot of music can be really negative, and,
Yeah.
what a wonderful spin. I love
Mm.
that. I love that. It's a really good vibe and just, from my perspective, good for people to hear and listen to, and I totally agree with what you said, by the way. I mean, music kinda deepens, messages,
Uh-huh.
and, I think the message that you're sending in a lot of your music is super positive, super powerful as well.
Thank you.
Um you're welcome, you're welcome. So tell me, I wanna hear a little bit about your music career so far. When did you start? You said you started as a drummer.
Yeah, I guess I kind of roots back to when I was 3 years old. I started playing on an electric drum set my dad had in the
Nice.
basement, and, he was a drummer growing up, and I think I got that in my bloodstream, so from the age of 3, I was, playing the drums, but I actually had rhythm and, like, an actual, like, flow to it. It wasn't random hitting anything, like, I would play songs, play along to songs, and catch on to the beat, like this.
Nice, nice.
It came super naturally, I guess, without even thinking, which is not something that happens when you're that young, so it's something either you gotta pursue or you gotta keep working on because obviously it's there from the get-go,
That's
so
awesome. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. And then, singing was a little bit in the back of, I guess, my life. I would always sing, but it wasn't at the forefront like the drums or, like, playing basketball. Those are my 2 kind of things that I was really good at.
Okay.
Singing, I loved singing and I loved music, but I never thought I had a good voice, so I'd never put myself out there. And then, when COVID hit, school was shutting down. I was in the last year of high school, and I thought that I was so bored. I was so bored because I love being out and I love doing things, and as soon as I was shut down, I couldn't just sit around.
Mhm.
So I was like, "What is better than just now? This is the best time. If I'm gonna put myself out there and kind of wing it and hope that somebody thinks I'm good at singing, it's gonna be now." Because I thought in my head, I'm not gonna go back to school because of COVID, so no one's gonna see me ever again. In my head, this is what I was thinking, and if I'm gonna embarrass myself, at least I don't have to see anyone in person. So I just went with it,
Uh-huh.
and I guess it kind of just caught on and people started liking it, and that's I don't know if you know, but that's when Justin Bieber reposted my TikTok to his Instagram story.
I did not know that. That's pretty awesome.
So
Pretty
hence why
impressive.
he's on the wall kind of
I
again,
can see that.
speaking on the never say never, always believe in your dreams, like he said, never say never, and
Mhm.
just believing in myself, like, to the max after that moment happened, and then kinda taking off with that momentum of confidence to where I am now.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. What a cool story. What a cool story.
thank you.
So tell me, in terms of performances, where do you perform? What's that like? Walk us through that a little bit, Jordan.
Yeah, I've performed on stages across, I guess, a few cities in Canada. I've been to the States and I performed. I performed in front of 10 people. I performed in front of thousands. I performed even in front of 25,000 people, which was
Wow.
something I didn't even think of.
Yeah.
It was at a festival here in Montreal. But performing is my favorite thing. I love recording. I love being online. I love content creation. But there's something about stepping onto a stage and performing that nothing else does for me like that. So, it's just such an adrenaline rush, and it kind of makes me really understand why I love to do what I do. When I step onto a stage, I remember why I love it so much. I know it's like cliche, but it really is true. Like the moment you feel that feeling of being with a mic and just walking out and people cheering, like it's a different type of feeling. So, yeah, I performed in Vegas. I opened up for CeeLo Green
I
a year
saw
and a half
that. Yeah,
ago.
that's impressive. Good for you,
Thank you.
Jordan.
That
Yeah.
was in Vegas trip, that was so cool.
Yeah.
I've opened up for Gloria Gaynor and Kool and the Gang here in Montreal.
My goodness.
Um, I've opened up I just performed in Jersey not too long ago, opened for Rachel Gray. I've opened up for, Cardinal Officiel in Toronto for Canada Day. I've opened up a few people in Montreal here at smaller venues, and then I also went to LA and performed at a few schools with, Kiss Radio there. Um,
Okay.
And then I toured all the Montreal EMSB schools here. So it got me a lot of traction with all the kids, I guess, in
Yep.
Montreal. So yeah.
That's fantastic. You've been busy. My goodness.
Yeah. The last, I guess, it's really been since COVID.
Since COVID.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I sure hope your mind has been changed about your voice. I think it's fantastic, by the way. I think you have a
Thank
great
you.
voice.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And my goodness, you've been super successful, and I'm excited for what's to come, Jordyn. You know, your future success. Tell me, I'm curious because your audience is mostly kids. Would you say? I mean,
I think my music, okay, I think there's a few, different types of like I believe that I have a wide demographic just because my music is so pop and it's so radio friendly that anyone who listens to the radio would hear my song and I think would like it just because it does fit that,
I
particular
agree.
box.
Yep.
Um, I do think that a lot of kids like my music because I do cater to that like young poppy sound. But I
Hmm.
think as I grow up, I want my music to grow with me, and that's kind of where this next era of my music is going. It's changing from, I guess, if you know the song like Summer High, which is super like teeny bop. Like it's great. It's a great song. It's so catchy. It's personally one of my favorites that I've ever done. But
Okay.
and the kids love it because it's so kid, like Summer High, whatever. But now we're moving on to the more adult themes, which is still what kids listen to because I think music is for anybody. So
Hmm.
I don't know if it's mostly for kids, but I definitely think it is for a lot of kids love my music, but a lot of adults love my music too because of the messages. So
Hmm.
I guess it's hard to say. It really is hard to say who
Sounds like you have a wide
likes my music
demographic.
more. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would
Sounds like
say
you
it kinda
do.
goes anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely does.
Mhm.
I'm asking mostly because my audience on this podcast, is really sort of, 2 groups, young adults, in high school and college, and then their parents in many ways. And, we often will talk about different topics associated with mental health and wellness. Believe it or not, music comes up a lot. And, as
Yeah.
a coping skill, as a soothing, mechanism, I think it's a go-to for a lot of people,
It is.
because people are, constantly they've got their phones with them and they've got their music and, they're one step away from putting the earbuds in and just listening. And so I think a lot of my patients over the years that have excessive anxiety have really turned to music as a way to cope, and a way to ground them. And it sort of fits in really nicely with, the concept of empowered pop and kids really turning to that to feel positive, to feel good versus, like you were saying, a lot of the negative music that
Yeah,
can
exactly.
come through, right? I'm curious, your thoughts just in general on young adults, and their wellness or their mental health. How does music fit into that?
Well, I think music is a good outlet to cope with a lot of emotions, like, there's so many artists that like a Billie Eilish who talks about mental health, like, in every song, and yeah, it's a little more on the depressing side, but there's something to be said about kind of listening to what you're feeling. So I know when I'm in a bad mood, yeah, you might think to turn on a positive song, but there might be a song that's explaining exactly how I'm feeling and it makes you understand yourself better or it makes you feel not alone. So I think a lot of music does that. So if you're having a certain thought, there's a song that reflects it. There's so many songs in the world, there's 100,000 songs uploaded to Spotify a day. There's gonna be someone talking
Wow.
about
Yeah.
exactly what you're feeling, and most of the time you think you're alone, but I can tell you that most people are feeling exactly the way you are, and I realized that through music. Um, it I think mental health and music go hand in hand because I think a lot of artists have mental health issues, and I think they just put their feelings into lyrics and melodies.
Mhm.
So I think listening to what somebody else is singing about makes you feel a little bit better and makes you feel
Mhm.
like you're not alone. I think that's kind of why, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree, I would agree. I have to say, I've been to many concerts over the years with my kids and my family and friends, And I would say the number one show I've ever seen was we went to see Post Malone, and Post Malone got up on stage, and in between songs, and his songs were just fantastic, but
Yeah.
in between songs talked about mental health. And I thought, how impressive, like how honest, how genuine. And then I started paying attention to it. And you're right, like lots of musicians are doing that. And, they're putting clips out on social media about it. And I think for young adults, when young adults hear musicians talking so openly and so honestly about their own struggles and their own mental health, it's validating. It's validating for kids to know, hey, we're all human beings. We're all susceptible. And quite frankly, as you just said, many of us have struggles.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
if, it's not out there in the public, most of us do have our struggles.
Mhm.
And I just wrote a song about it not too long ago that will be coming out soon, speaking about just, the feeling of overwhelmed, like being overwhelmed and anxiety and kind of feeling like you're at the edge and you're not really sure, where you're going next and being uncertain. So the next song that's coming out after after in a few months, it's gonna be after my song that's coming out soon. So,
Mhm.
a few months. It is about, like, mental health awareness for the most part and the ups and downs of life and stuff, so I'm excited for that.
Fantastic. That's
Um,
exciting. That's
yeah,
exciting. I think
it's a
I
good song, yeah.
I'm excited to hear it. I think those types of songs really resonate. They really resonate with lots and lots
Yeah,
of
they
people. We
do.
have a name for the song yet?
It's called Underwater.
Underwater. You guys heard it first here. Underwater.
Mhm.
Keep an eye out for it in a couple of months from Jordyn. That sounds really, really exciting. So Jordyn, tell me, I'm curious, like outside of music, do you have time to just be a young adult?
Yeah, I would say I think I need to in order to write the best music. There's something to be said about going out with your friends and going to bars and clubs and seeing what's out there to be, I guess, inspired to write. Because there's sometimes I'm like, I haven't lived enough to write a song like this. I need to go and live it and then I could write about it. Or I haven't lived this experience, so I have no right to write it if I don't even know what's happening.
Mhm.
So, my music is heavily inspired by experience or just a universal topic that I could resonate with. So, I do have time to be young. I do. I go out with my friends. I meet people. I don't like being home too often. So, and I work from, my studio and I'm at the studio or I'm doing content. So when I can get out and just be 22 and, do whatever I need to do, aside from music, I definitely do that. I definitely
That's
make time
awesome.
for that. I think it's important.
That's awesome. It really is. I'm really glad to hear that happens. I have to ask, have you met Justin?
No, I have not.
Haven't met Justin. Justin,
No,
Justin, if
I
you're
will.
listening,
I
come
will.
on, contact Jordyn. Hopefully you guys will be able to meet one day.
Yeah.
He sounds like he was sort of a part of your early story.
He is like the like he is, that's why I guess I continued. I think I was having a lot of just anxiety about the posting and
Mhm.
I had followers, like a few thousand, but I really did not think I was all that. I people were saying you're great and I appreciated it, but in my mind I was like, I'm okay. Like it would take me hours to film a video. Sometimes it would take me 5 hours to sing one little 30-second thing for TikTok. I would keep going. I would lose my voice. I would keep posting. I was getting so like I only got 100 views. I would like get so aggravated and I was just like, maybe I suck. Maybe this isn't for me. But I kept going and then it was like 4 months when he posted me because people said I sounded like a young Bieber.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's kind of that moment that I was like, okay, if Bieber posted me to his story, maybe I have to stop second guessing myself and just go
Definitely,
for it. And then
definitely.
right after that moment, I could tell you my mind like 180'd. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm pretty good. I'm gonna
There
keep
you
going.
go, there you go.
Like
I
I
love
needed
that
that
story.
boost of little something to like remind me that no, stop doubting. You're on the right path, you
I
know?
love that story, I love that story. Well,
Yeah.
maybe one day he'll contact you, you can open for him. That'd be great.
Well, that's the goal. Anything more.
In all seriousness, I think having mentors in our life,
Mhm,
having people that affect us, having people that sort of hold that mirror up and show us, "Hey, you're pretty damn good at this." You know what I
mhm.
mean? I think is so incredibly powerful and so important.
Mhm.
So many of my young adults come into my office regularly and we speak virtually regularly. And I hear things like, there's nothing special about me. Just makes me want to scream. Like, because I think for every young person that says that, there's a list of things that are special about them. They just don't know it yet.
And I say the same thing. Everyone, a lot of people come into my live and they'll be like, "I'm so jealous. You have so much talent. I don't have a talent." I'm like, "You don't it's not that you don't have a talent, just you haven't found it yet."
Right.
I say the same thing. I'm like, "You just gotta keep trying things and everyone has something that they're good at, even if you don't know it, you know?"
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, your spirit, I have to say, your fortitude through doing what you're doing is incredible. I mean, I think that for so many young people, if they don't get immediate success, they give up. And I think that when you find your passion, clearly music is your passion. When you find your passion, chase it. And you're gonna have those days that feel great, and you're gonna have those days that suck and are really frustrating. Hopefully many more, wonderful days, but I would imagine, having talked to other musicians, it is like any other career. You're gonna have your frustrations that come your way. But I have to say, you're definitely a role model for many, Jordyn, in that, again, young people are looking for those passions and struggling, thinking, I'll never find it." They will. They will. I didn't find mine until, goodness, I was a junior in college. I think I was 20. I was 20, 21, not that much different age than you. And, I found it by accident. So, won't go into that story, but,
Mhm.
you know, to me, I love being a counselor, and it sounds like you love being a musician. So, I hope that for every young person that's listening, they find their passion as well.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Jordyn, listen, I really appreciate you spending some time with us. I know you're busy, you taking some time out of your schedule and making it happen, to spend some time on Normalize It Forward with us. So I really appreciate that time. One last question for you. I ask a lot of my guests to nominate a friend, a coworker, or a relative, someone who you think would be good for me to interview next, just to keep the conversation moving forward. Anybody come to mind?
I think my good friend who's also an influencer, and a magician, his name is
Okay.
Rafael La Ferreira. He goes by
Nice.
Rafi. He's huge in
Rafi?
Montreal, millions of followers, and his message is all about never give up, and
Love
follow your
it.
dreams. So
Love it.
we work together, we have shows together. I'm doing a show with him. It's his show that I'm participating in. So, in April, so we're very close, and, I think he'd be good to maybe try to get in contact with if he can.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'll get his contact info from you offline, but I appreciate you nominating him, and I'll look to get him on a future show. That sounds like a really good interview.
Yeah, for sure,
Awesome,
for
awesome.
sure.
Jordyn, thanks again. I really appreciate it. To my listeners, be on the lookout for all the new stuff coming your way through Jordyn Sugar. Jordyn, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Take care.
You too. Bye.
That's all for this episode of Normalize It Forward. May this conversation serve as a reminder that you are never alone in facing your mental health struggles. There are always people who can help. To dive even deeper into our journey of normalizing one of the biggest issues young people face, check out more episodes of the show at youareheard.com. It's UAREHEARD.com. Continue gaining access to the right tools, the best resources, and the most insightful advice to achieve positivity, mindfulness, and genuine happiness.